Name Saman. Along with the drive sales, we bring to you an interesting presentation about the sales process and the importance of following the sales process. As we see on the diagram, sales process is a process which clearly defines a customer's or a prospect's journey all the way from being a suspect, where we literally have very little information about his needs, the requirements, the budget, the time frame, etc. Moving on to putting him as a prospect, and then the approach, the negotiation, the closure, and eventually the order. It's a very, very well defined and a scientific process. And the sales process is a continual process, which means starting at the prospecting stage, we eventually close. And then what do? We don't stop. We continue meeting the same customer again, and the cycle continues. So if I could define the sales process, it says it's a prospect's journey from realizing that they have a need to that of making an actual purchase. Or alternately, it is a set of repeatable processes or steps to take a prospective buyer from the early stage of awareness in his mind to that of a closed sale. So let us understand what are the key steps in our sales process. One, as we have understood earlier, it is a matter of prospecting, where we try to find the timeline of his purchase, whether there is an actual need or it is just a want, whether who is the authority, and in terms of the tangible things for the purchase. B, we need to meet a prospect, understand his requirements. That is the second stage, which is all about preparation. Just the way we prepare for any aspect of moving on in life from stage one to stage two, assuming it's a journey. So we prepare for a journey. Likewise, for every sales cycle, every customer meet, we have to prepare adequately. Understand his needs, understand his background, etc. The third is the approach, or we might call it the strategy of what are we going to do in terms of what his needs are and whether we are able to map those needs and cater to those needs in the most ideal fashion is the approach or the strategy. The fourth is putting together a presentation about our approach, the strategy, and that of his needs, meeting the customer probably at his office or maybe at our workplace, and explaining to the stakeholders. The stakeholders could be multiple. It is not just purchase, it is the procurement guys. It could be the CEO himself, it could be the chief information officer, it could be the head of IT, it could be the head of manufacturing, it could also mean there could be somebody from customer service, etc. So depending on the product, the service, the solution, there could be different stakeholders. Objection handling. Now, objection handling is yet another key aspect of any sales process. It is all about uh, talking to them, telling them in the rightful way, articulating your solution, at the same time, not objecting to what they have said in return. Else, it could be a clash of egos, and that could determine the outcome of the sale or mar the sale, I would say. When these steps have been cleared, we come to the final stage, which is the closing stage, which is 6. And as mentioned in the previous slides, it's all about repeating, follow up, ensure that the second deal and the third deal and the fourth deal all come to you rather than saying, oh, I'm pretty much happy and with just one deal. So let's try to understand the prospecting stage. The prospecting stage, as we say, is all about finding and qualifying customers. And as it is defined, it is a process of determining whether he has a need or a want. A want can be avoided, but a need ideally can never be avoided. That the company can fulfill, and whether our solution, product, or service can cater to those needs, basically. Uh, it's one of the key aspects, but then why prospect? Okay, So the idea of prospect is to keep the sales pipeline full, and done correctly, it is the fastest way to increase the conversion and the closing rates. So in a very similar manner, when we speak about a funnel, we assume that when we put in garbage in any system, the output will be a garbage, right? So it's a garbage in, garbage out. So it is extremely important that leads that come into the funnel, the sales funnel, are extremely well qualified so that the chances of increasing conversion and closing rates increase drastically. The other aspect of moving on is in terms of the preparation. The preparation involves preparing for the initial contract. What are we going to speak about in terms of relevant information, their products, their services, customers, etc. Knowing all about your customer and catering to that need for them. The other part is in terms of presentation. So it is all about active listening. There are challenges that they are facing, asking them open-ended questioning, or in terms of assuming the fact that what happens, dear customer, if you don't buy this solution. That will give us the key aspect of whether it is a want or a need. We can also ask questions like what happens if you do not make a purchase? It will bring out the real pain point in a customer's situation. From a presentation, we come to objection handling, and as is rightly mentioned or shown or depicted in the infographic, objection handling can be multifold. What we see here is a brick wall. It assume that to be an objection. One of the blue lines goes over it, method one. The yellow line goes below the brick line. It could be strategy two, or bypassing that altogether. So it is not a one size fits all, depending on your offering, the customer, the issues faced. It can all be put together and come across with an objection where the customer feels happy that yes, my doubts have been clarified. Finally, it's about closing. Now, the closing aspect could again be multifold. What we see over here, it's three different approaches. One is an alternative choice close, which says you assume that the sale is done. And you say, okay, well, so the sale is done. So would you like to pay by card or cash or yeah, UPI, etc. Any of these methods, which is assuming the sale is done. The second is offering something extra, saying that in case you're making the purchase today, we have something to offer you today as an extra incentive to buy this, forcing him or enticing him is the right word. The third aspect is the fact that typically we say this, that okay, today is the last day of the sale, this week is the last day of the sale, etc. And that is literally forcing the customer to make a decision rather than postponing the decision to some other time. These are the key aspects of the closing. Last but not least, typically it is said that in any customer situation, 80% of the customers give you just 20% of the business, whereas 20% of the customer give you the chunk that is 80% of the business. Which is why it is going to be extremely important to identify who are those 20% of the customers who are giving you 80% of the business. Follow up with them. Even if there is no need, you could just go and meet them and maybe have a cup of tea or a coffee, understand their needs, what are the various things happening in the marketplace. Do not always try to position yourself as a seller. At times it makes sense to go and meet a customer just to educate the customer about what's happening. He or she is far too busy in his professional life to know what's exactly happening in the industry in which you are working. So it makes sense to approach them, educate them, not just a person, maybe a team on a regular basis. And there are so many ways in which you can literally do it. And this is classically one of the best ways to build a relationship. So when a customer eventually has the requirement the next time or the third time, fourth time, etc., he is bound to call you and discuss the requirement. Moving on, to build confidence, there are various ways in which we can build confidence. And one of the best ways is to share success stories or testimonials. Success stories or testimonials come in from existing customers who are very happy or delighted based on your support or service or the product. These would be published in the media or recorded as a video, audio, printed, etc. And when you share a customer success story with a prospect, the chances of him or her getting convinced is much, much higher. And these testimonials are a key aspect of the sales cycle primarily. Eventually, what I say is it's all about confidence. A customer, despite the branding, pricing, solution, support, all these things in sales, I personally believe that what a customer eventually buys is comfort and or confidence. So it is a salesperson's responsibility for every sales call, whether it's on the phone or whether it's in person or it's virtual. It is imperative that one builds uh, confidence in the customer's mind, helps him or proves to the fact that your solution or product or service is ideal for their requirement. And finally, it is about you, confidence in you. Imperative that you do all the right things, because it is not just you are representing at the customer place. You are representing your company. That is going to be very, very important. The brand is what you're representing. So it's extremely important that you have extremely good mannerisms, good etiquette, your way of presentation, your way of dressing for that matter, because it's all about you and the company. We have seen this very often. To instill adequate confidence, companies offer test drives, and test drives, the first thing that might come to mind is in terms of automobiles, but it's not just related to automobiles. Software companies, say for example, offer timed software. It could be maybe valid for a week to 10 days to 15 days for somebody to try the software, to play with the software. And if you are happy, you go ahead and procure. If you're not, then you maybe say, oh, I don't want to procure. They could ask you some couple of questions, but the idea is, it is to bring that confidence that this is my product or solution or a service, and it's the proof of the pudding where they use it and they feel comfortable with it. Well, I mean, one of the most difficult things which we come across is to say sorry. However, the idea here is, if you are sorry, that's perfectly okay. Just say, tell the customer, well, I'm sorry. Okay. It helps building a relationship much faster because of the fact that you have apologized. And it may not be you, somebody else could be responsible. But if you are managing an account, which is a customer account, etc., it's perfectly okay to just say sorry, and not just say sorry. The idea is to take adequate measures so that the same issue or the problem that happened doesn't get repeated. Finally, or last but not least, this is just a small, I would say, a trailer of the entire sales cycle. And the only thing which I can say is the one magic word is all about practice, practice, practice to get better and better and better. Thank you so much on behalf of the Tribe Sales and myself as Aman Khajanchi. Thank you, and wish you all the very best.